Today we're going to create a 3D part in SolidWorks and prepare it for 3D printing. Um, when you first start, you want to make sure you go to Tools and Options and Document Properties and Units. And you want to change your units to inch, pound, seconds. And then hit OK. Next, we're going to go to the Features tab and extrude the base of our part. You want to start in the top plane and use a center rectangle. All the dimensions I'm going to do here are just samples. They won't actually create the right dimensions for an iPhone case. So we're going to do 5.07 inches by 2.7 inches. Hit the green check, and we're good to go. We want to create a sketch fillet to give it the signature rounded edges that you'd see on an iPhone. The fillet radius is going to be 1/8 of an inch, and you want to check all four corners on the sketch. Exit the sketch, and you want to make your extrude blind and 0.05 inches. Next, we're going to build up the walls for our case. You want to go to extrude again, and this time select the face. You go to the top plane, and we're going to choose Convert Entities. This will allow us to just use the same walls as before, and if you make a mistake, you can just click in the blue box and hit Clear Selections. Then you want to click all the edges of our rectangle. Green check, and now we have a fully defined sketch automatically. We want to use the thin feature tool to make it walls instead of just another solid piece. And the iPhone 5S is 0.3 inches thick, so that's what we're gonna go with. And our walls are going to be 0.1 inches thick. Now we're going to add the lip so that your phone will stay in the case. And go to extrude base again. And select our face. Go into the top plane. Now I'm gonna try to do something here, but it's not gonna work because the SolidWorks won't know what to do when I extrude this, and this is why we use the thin feature tool. But also a useful tool that I use here is Offset Entities, which will allow you to create concentric shapes within or outside of a previously drawn geometry. When you do this, you want to select all your edges so that you get the whole rectangle here. And you can zoom in and out in SolidWorks using the middle scroll dial on your mouse. You want to reverse direction to go inside of our previous rectangle instead of outside. Now when we try to extrude this, SolidWorks won't know what to build upon. Create a sketch fillet again. See it, you won't see a preview, and that's telling you that the SolidWorks just doesn't know what to do. And you can try to select the contours, but it just won't work because you have that floating piece there, and that isn't gonna be able to connect to the rest of your case. And SolidWorks doesn't like to separate bodies, to have two separate bodies in a part file. So we're going to scrap this, right click and delete, yes. Now go back to extrude. Do convert entities again. This time we're going to use the extrude thin feature instead of trying to build our own boundaries. So we choose a thickness of 0.05. I'm going to go into the isometric view, then check off thin feature. Reverse the direction to give it the lip, and 0.1 inches for our thickness of our wall, or 0.15, sorry. Click the green check, and there you have your basic shape for your iPhone case. Now we're going to go and we're going to make a cut for the buttons on the side of the phone. And choose extrude cut and then the side face. And we're going to draw 2 circles in a slot representing the volume buttons. The speech bumper. We're going to choose 0.25 as our diameter when we go into Smart Dimension. You have to make sure that you define your sketch fully, so you want to choose directly between the two edges of the case, and I'm not quite sure what the thickness is, so we're going to go to evaluate, measure, and choose the two boundaries, and SolidWorks will tell us exactly what that distance is. So now we know 0.2 is directly between our two walls. If you right click and hold down Control at the same time, you'll see a constraints menu. You can do different constraints with a circle. I could have just chose equal instead of defining both as 0.25, but if you can use a constraint and a dimension, SolidWorks will say it's overdefined and your part will break down. So I wanted to choose the center points and then say that they're horizontal to each other. Which is a distance of 125 inches here from the origin. And 1.5 inches from the origin for our plus button. Make a small slot, and the slot's going to require more dimensioning than the circle would, because you now have, it's a combination of an arc and lines, so you have to define the length of the lines as well as the radius of the arc. There. Oh, the distance of 2 inches for bumper button. And when you do this, you want to choose up to next, so that it goes through your wall, but it doesn't go through the next wall. Now you have your volume buttons. Now we have to create the on button on a separate face, so you have to do a second extrude cut on that left face. I'm going to do a slot again. Radius of 0.0625. Length of 0.325. And distance from the origin 0.875. And once again, you want that button to be in the center of your phone. So 0.2 inches from the origin. You want to select up to next. Now you have your on button. and go to the bottom view and create our holes for our camera and flash. So for this, you want to stay far enough away from the edge so that you're only going through the back portion and not the walls. So we will make our circle a half an inch from each wall. One inch from the origin in height. And we need to make a slot for the flash. These guys can be tricky sometimes when you're trying to click something real small, so don't be afraid to use the scrolling button to zoom in. .15 inches on the length. .025 inches on the radius. Well, a distance of 0.6 inches from the origin. We're gonna line our slot up with our circle by making that a distance of 0.5 inches from the edge. Now we're fully defined. It's important that you make your sketch fully defined when 3D printing, or else the printer might print out something different than what your sketch looks like. And this time you want to choose through all with your cut to ensure that it goes all the way through the back of the phone. So now you have your iPhone case, and we need to convert it to the file type that a 3D printer reads in. So first we're going to save it as a normal SolidWorks part, and then we are going to save it as a 3D printing file called an STL. An important point to be made about modeling for a 3D printer is that you want to make sure that your model has a base that is mostly supported by itself, or else you'll spend a lot of money in support structure material that the 3D printer will create so that your part doesn't fall apart while it's being 3D printed. So you want to make sure, for this instance, we put the base at the bottom